Hi guys, it's me Ty here, and today I'm going to be talking about our Honda FOURTRAX 300 4x4 four-wheeler that my mom has. And lately she's been having a starting issue where she'll hit the starter sometimes, and all it does is click. It doesn't spin over the engine. And I went ahead and I was like, okay, I better go check this out. And we've had this issue before with like our older four-wheelers. She just bought this four-wheeler last year, but my grandparents had a 1992 FOURTRAX 300, and that was just a two-wheel drive. But I remember, many years ago, the starter quit working on it, where it would just click like that. So us kids would, it's got the Kickstarter on the side, and with that, it's got a decompression lever on the front of your engine. It's always tipped down, but what you gotta do is you just gotta flip it up, and then you kick the engine over, and that decompression lever will fall down. So you have to lift it up each time if the engine didn't start for you that time. So we dealt with that for like a month or whatever, and then my grandpa, he hauled the four-wheeler into the Honda dealership, and they fixed it. And there was always miscommunication with my grandparents, like we never always heard the whole story. Well, anyways, they fixed it. I don't know if they replaced the starter or replaced the starter solenoid, whatever. I think we all kind of assumed that they put a new starter in for us. About 2 weeks later, the same problem happened again. And my grandpa's like, well, I'm not sticking any more money into it. So years, us kids would just, lift up the decompression lever and kick it over and start it. And that worked fine for us. Well, we went ahead and we sold that four-wheeler and we bought this 4x4 one now for my mom. And the thing is, my mom is older and she can't be kicking over a four-wheeler. So it's got to be reliable in that sense. And I'm restoring the four-wheeler to her. I've put tons of money in it. Any little thing, I've even got a carburetor kit ordered for it now and everything. But I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to troubleshoot this since I have a lot more mechanical ability than when I was in high school, And I put my multimeter on there. I put it on voltmeter, and I hooked up the negative cable to the negative battery terminal, and then the positive one to the positive terminal, and it shows the battery has 12.46 voltage. So then I went ahead and I took the positive and I hooked it to one side of the solenoid with the key off, and it was, well, actually I think I had the key on, it doesn't matter. That one was 12.46 as well, and I went to the other side and it was like 0.002, which we're not trying to start it yet. So I turned on the key, and that side still remained at the 0.002, and then I held the starter button. I just held it, and the starter clicked, and I had 12.36 on that side, which whenever you go through a connection, you'll always have a little bit of voltage drop. And all the connections looked good, and I was like, okay, we're getting power there. And then I went down to the actual starter motor on the engine, and with that, there's only one cable going to it, and that's your big red power cable supply starter to it, because the actual body of the starter grounds against the engine, and that's where it gets ground. So I put the red lead of my multimeter on the actual post, not the cable, because I want to actually make sure that the physical part of the starter is getting power. And I went ahead and I turned on the key and I held the starter button, and it showed 12.26 volts. So it was getting plenty of power going to that starter. So that instantly told me that everything's good on that end of it. And I heard somebody say that as like these Hondas age and everything, that your starter can kind of bind up in the transmission. So they said what you can do is you can flip up your decompression lever and kick over your Kickstarter while you're holding the start button, and it'll start. And sure as heck, that does it. And sometimes you have to do it a couple times or whatever. And I was like, okay, maybe this is just a quirk of having an older machine. But I was thinking about it again too, with like a lot of our cars, they would just click and wouldn't start or whatever. And of course, the first thing you go to is the starter. So you go ahead and you pull it down, and then you're like, oh, I can't make it to Napa today or whatever, I'm going to put it back up in there. And as soon as you throw it up in there and bolt it all in and hook the connections back up, or you didn't even have to disconnect that connections, you just had to pull it out of there, go in there and you crank up your car and it fires right up. And what's going on there is it's still your starter. There's a round armature in there, and it gets little burn marks from your brushes. And sometimes when you shut off the engine, it just happens to line up on those burn marks, and then it won't start for you. But if you go ahead and you kick your starter, or hit it with a hammer, or just like I said, pull it down, unbolt it, pull it down, and throw it back up there, it spins that armature just enough so that that your brushes aren't on one of those burn arc marks on there, is what happens. So there is a possibility with my mom's starter that it could have some burn marks on it, but I'm not sure if we're gonna replace it yet or not. I think we're just gonna deal with this quirk here of Mom can just spin it over slowly with the Kickstarter. That way she won't hurt herself or nothing, and hold the starter button, and then the starter will engage. So this should save you guys some money and just keep your Honda, because I know people get stressed out when stuff doesn't work or whatever, and like that, and they're like, oh, this thing's a money pit, and we might as well just buy a new four-wheeler, in which you could buy a brand new four-wheeler, but if you're going to keep these older vehicles on the road, you just have to accept that they all have little quirks, and as long as you're keeping that thing for a long time, you'll learn all the little quirks of that machine, and that's the quirk that my mom has to know on her machine, and she'll always be able to get it started. So, all right, if you guys like this content, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll just keep out kicking more content. This summer it's mostly gonna be repairs, on four-wheelers and dirt bikes and snowmobiles and my Honda Fit and our Silverado pickups, and later on this winter, it'll probably be back to my travels in Asia. Since many of you that followed me, you guys know that I just graduated from university with my bachelor's degree last year. So that's always kind of a neat thing, seeing somebody older, going back to finish it. And like I said, I passed on the honor roll and everything, or special honors actually. So yeah, and got my dental work done over there in Cambodia. They did an awesome job. Asia's amazing, you guys. You should all visit there. It's kind of expensive nowadays. Plane tickets are pretty expensive, but all right. Take care, you guys.